I'm so excited today because we're going to talk with one of my dear friends, Dr. Q from the Indian Palm Leaf Reading Institute. He's going to share so much incredible insight. And I just wanted to say hello and welcome to everybody, because this is the first of what I hope will be many interviews with enlightened, amazing, incredible leaders and teachers in the spiritual and metaphysical realms who are really the new way showers for Earth and really bringers of the light, like all of us. And so I'm hoping that the community will really benefit from this. I know for me, I really enjoy these kinds of conversations. So it's part of why I wanted to bring it through. And because I love Dr. Q. So is it okay? I'm going to just do a little formal introduction, and then I'm going to just let him share about, because he really knows his, I was so inspired because I did a reading with the Indian Palm Leaf Institute, Reading Institute. So he's going to describe it and tell you all about him. But I'll just give you a brief introduction to him and his website so you kind of know. So Dr. Q founded the Indian Palm Leaf Reading Institute to bring this powerful and ancient wisdom, which I'll explain in a moment through his bio, to the West. He created the first and only Western-based institute of its kind called Indian Palm Leaf Reading Institute. And this is so that they can help people find their leaf. So what's their leaf? There's an ancient manuscript about you, whoever you are, in the Library of India. 3,000 years ago, enlightened sages used their divine powers to look into the future and predict the lives of millions of people. Their insights were put down on dried palm leaves. Your palm leaf was written specifically for you to answer your most important questions about your life: karma, obstacles, children, destiny, partnership, career, health. And Dr. Q founded this institute, as we've explained. So with no more delay, I want to introduce you to my dear friend, Dr. Q. Hello.
Hello, and namaste, Laurie. Thank you so much for your wonderful introduction. It humbles me. It really does. I'm grateful that we're friends and we've known each other for a long time.
And I love you so much. And just want to say one more quick thing about you before you tell us all about your institute and everything, is that you are one of, I've been around the block for quite a while now. And there aren't so many people that I say from the depth of my heart, I truly trust and know that your true, sincere intention is to be of service to the light. Many people may say it, but it's not always true. And you are. And I know this to be true about you. And I gratefully love and honor and appreciate you for that, because there are so many. It's so important to really understand someone who's here to really bring forward the light and to serve the light and the expansion of consciousness. So thank you for being you and being here.
Thank you. Now I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. You're making an old man blush. What can I say? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share this ancient and powerful wisdom with your audience. My name is Dr. Q. I'm the founder of the Indian Palm Leaf Reading Institute. And Dr. Q, by the way, is not a stage name, believe it or not. I did earn my doctorate 25 years ago, a long time ago. That gives away my age already, but it is what it is. I try to stay sexy and fit using high-end Botox, and I hope it works. At any rate, my biggest challenge in life is health, and I think I've been in hospital more than most. And it's a blessing also at the same time, as it was challenging, as it put me on a trajectory of seeking and a spiritual path. I'm half Persian. My dad's Persian. My mom's Austrian. So she's blonde and blue-eyed. And my dad's Iranian. He's a Baha'i, not Muslim. It's important to know too. I grew up very wealthy. In 1979, there was a revolution. We had to flee the country. So we ended up as refugees, believe it or not, in Austria, because my mom's Austrian. So I know how it feels to be very wealthy with servants. And at the same time, I also know how it feels to have no money at all. But my mom became the breadwinner. Fleeing to Austria just saved our lives. Had we stayed, at least my dad would have been killed, tortured, imprisoned. And God knows what they would have done to the rest of his family. That would be my mom, my brother, and me. And some of you might be mature enough to remember the biggest nuclear catastrophe till this date, which happened in April of 1986. So it's the month that it happened. and it's called Chernobyl. If you haven't heard of it, watch a series on Netflix. It is quite disturbing, I should say, but it's very accurate about the nuclear blast. Yes, a real thing. And that was in 1986. The nuclear cloud traveled more than 1,000 kilometers and dumped its nuclear waste over Central Europe. And at the time, and Austria is in Central Europe, Vienna is in the easternmost parts of it, I was there. And that is how I ultimately got cancer, alongside thousands of other people too. And so I battled with cancer for 3 years. I was an inpatient for 6 months. In 3 years is a long time. 1,000 needles in my veins. I had surgeries and chemotherapy and radiation and all the rest of it. So when I was admitted at the age of 16, I said, God, why me? I'm a kid, but then I saw people die in my room. Of course, I saw people die during the revolution in Iran. I saw people die in my room. And when they released me at age 19, I said, God, why me? How come I survived and they did not? And that is basically the beginning of my spiritual journey. I come from a physician's family. Most of my family, Persian side, are physicians. After 3 years in hospital, I couldn't stomach the thought of voluntarily setting foot in a hospital. So I decided on an academic career. And I wanted to become a professor at the university, which I loved. I love teaching kids and giving lectures, but the red tape that goes behind the scenes is mind-blowing too. 80% of it is nonsense. So I realized that's not for me either, really, regrettably. So I started a travel business in Washington, D.C., where I lived most of my adult life. 11 years ago, I met a gal from Hungary, Budapest, and you, Laura, know her. Her name is Mentorship. So I moved here. I moved to Budapest, and I'm still here in Budapest, by the way. So I'm talking to you live from the capital city of Hungary, which is not far away from Vienna. It's only a 3-hour train ride. Different universe altogether, though. And 10 years ago, and it's my brother's wedding anniversary now as well, because it is the same time that I ended up in the ICU 10 years ago. My girlfriend, Emma, she saved my life. She put me on the train and said, this doesn't look good, the way you just are, sweating, fever, chills. So she said, just hop on a train in the morning, go to your hospital in Vienna and have yourself checked out, which I did, on the train, then using the metro, going to my hospital that everyone knows me at, because I was a teenager and surviving. Obviously, I made friends, and they're now, of course, way more mature than they used to be when I was a teenager. But still, there are plenty around to recognize me. So when I entered, they said, oh, Dr. Moyd, welcome back. What's going on? I said, well, I don't feel so well. And I got the VIP treatment, so to speak, because they know me and they wanted to help me. And on the same day, just a couple of hours later, 3 hours later, I was diagnosed with myocarditis, which means an inflamed heart muscle. On top of it, I had water in my heart sac and pneumonia and water in my lungs. I don't even know how I survived that much. In order to get myself to the hospital. That day, I collapsed. So I had Emma at the time not put me on the train, said, go and get yourself checked out. I will be dead now. And then I ended up in the ICU. And when I was in the ICU, and of course, Emma visited me. She said, I connected the dots myself, because I thought, man, how come I end up in hospital so many times, more than most? So I thought it must have to do with karma. So I shared it with Emma, and she said, well, you should do a palm leaf reading. She had heard about it, and I said, if I survive, I get a reading done. And I did survive. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I had a reading done, and it blew my mind. I'm telling you, Emma did not get her reading until years later. I had a reading, blew my mind. I'm telling you, and the rest is history. The reader at the time, again, I'm a white guy. Those of you who don't see me, if it's just a podcast, I'm a white guy. I have nothing to do with India. I love Indian food. I love spicy food. I meditate every day. I go to yoga, of course, but I'm not Indian. The only connection that I have with India since then is my reading, which is the reason why I'm talking to you today. And the reader in a by sentence during the reading said, oh, by the way, you're going to bring this to the West. And I thought, he's kidding me, because I have nothing to do with India. And yet here I am 10 years later talking to you about my experience. It was a mind-blowing meeting, a life-changing meeting, a life-changing reading, as not only did a lot of things come true in the reading, but it just changed my mindset altogether. And I don't say this lightly, because I've been studied and I've done many, many, many alternative healing methods. I've been to John of God in Brazil many times, several times. He's maybe the most famous medium there is, to get some healing from him. I've done Reiki healing, meditation. I've been to Vipassana, you name it, I've done it. I've been to shamans in the Amazon, spent a long time in the jungle. Was quite an adventure, I should say, just to experience shamanic medicine and see how that works. So when I say this blew my mind, it doesn't come lightly or from a person who has not much experience. I do. So then when I had my reading after that, of course, I shared it with my friends and family because I was just blown away by it. And then they wanted to get a reading done. And I said, cool, let's fly to India. And that's when I realized that to most Western people, India is a no-go zone. They're just afraid of India. It's too hot, food's too spicy, too dirty, too poor, too whatever it might be. And that is how we said, okay, maybe we can do it online. And the reader said, sure, we can do Skype calls. And that's how it all started. And when we had the first readings for friends and family, I also realized that most of them don't understand the Indian accent, the Indian English accent, that is, known as Hinglish. So I said in every reading too, and then reinterpreted what was said on one hand, but also the deeper meaning of the reading. Given that I had so much experience when I had my reading, I intrinsically understood the deeper meaning of it. But if you're a novice, and if it's your first major experience when it comes to spirituality, then you might not get the message. So I then not only repeated the words, but also gave them more insights about what the reading is all about. And that is how it all started. Over time, more and more people wanted to get a reading. And that's when I realized, oh my God, this is not just me helping a few friends of mine. It's way beyond that, because friends of friends of friends and friends came. And then I said, let's put it onto a legal framework. And we created the Institute, which is now in its 8th year running. It's an institute, really. It's the first one in the West. We have an office in India, of course we do, but the whole approach is Western approach. We're legally structured in the United States. Our banking is in the US, we pay taxes in the US and all the rest of it. So you got the safety and security of a Western approach, and yet everything happens in India. And the whole purpose is to, on one hand, me helping my Indians so they continue doing their divine work. They're all educated, by the way. They all have master's degrees and college degrees, but they decided voluntarily to do this instead. The issue is that we lose a lot of divine readers, as their status in society is not the same as it used to be until 40, 50 years ago. They used to be like the shaman, to some extent, Indian shaman, and everyone would go to them and seek advice. Times have changed in India a lot. India is a fast changing nation. So IT, call centers and so forth are taken over. And so we lose highly skilled readers. And I promised them, yes?
Let me ask you before you get into all that, because I think people who don't understand, like I did the bio, but let's just say it as clear as we can for someone who has never heard of it.
Sure.
Right? Basically, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
3,000 years ago, these Maharishis, like, because because it's almost like I read the bio, but you didn't explain it, that part. Just tell me.
I'll go to the point. I get to the point. So
incredible.
Institute, it is incredible, yeah. So the approach, our approach is to help people, period. My Indians, so they continue doing their work. We heavily overpay them so they can do what they're destined to do. And I believe in that thoroughly. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we support an orphanage in that town that we have our brick and mortar office. And of course, provide a safe, secure, ethical, authentic service to a seeker. Doesn't matter where they are across the globe. So it's done online. You don't need to go to India anymore. We do it for you. I go to India all the time. Now, the story is there is no written book. There is no written record of any of this. So it's by word of mouth. About 2,000-3,000 years ago, so before Christ was born, enlightened sages, we call them Maharishi. Maharishi means great sage, not just one or two, hundreds of them, sat down in meditation. They utilized what they knew at that time. That's way before India became India, in the southernmost parts of what is now known as India. Utilized the power of Hindu gods, because that's all they knew. To them, that was the world. To tap into the Akashic records, download the information for souls, and then write them down somewhere. At that time, no paper. So they utilized what they had in abundance, and that is by cutting down the leaves of palm trees into slices of about 10 inches long, 15 inches long, and about an inch or so wide. on these palm leaves, they etched the information for your soul on the fresh leaf. And when it dried up, they used a sharp tool. When it dried up, the message came through. So it's 100% biodegradable. Nature is not being abused at all. They utilized what they had in abundance: palm trees instead of paper, sharp tool instead of ink. And then when the leaf dried up, you could read the message. Now, these leaves are very brittle, and the only way to preserve them is, again, thinking 2,000-3,000 years ago, they used the bark of the palm tree and created books. On each side, they used some sort of wood, the bark of the palm tree, bound them together. Similar souls are in the same bundle. You're like in a soul family. And these bundles or books are stored in archives, many archives. There is no the archive. There are hundreds, if not thousands of archives, primarily in the state called Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is the southernmost state of India. To my California-based friends or Florida-based friends, it is on the east coast, southern east coast of India. They are Tamil people. They speak Tamil language. And to the rest of India, they are foreigners too, because when an Indian travels to Tamil Nadu, they don't speak the common language known as Hindi. They don't. So when you enter that state, you are a foreigner, unless you know Tamil, the language. So that's a little bit about the Maharishis. And I brought some pictures for you. 18 of these hundreds of Maharishis are deemed as the main rishis. 18 in total. The guy in the middle, his name is Agastya. And you had a reading from his book, Agastya's book. He can be deemed as the GP, as the main guy who wrote the most leaves.
It's
you
so
can,
cool.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on. I was looking to, I wanted to share my screen. I thought I could do it. So I had an image of my leaf open. And
Okay.
I don't know why I can't see it on here for whatever reason. I must not have set it up properly.
You can put it in afterwards.
Yeah, but do you have an image of any leaf or that you can show or no?
Regrettably not, because the bundle that I use for presentations,
I must not have set it up for a screen share. That's such a bummer, but we can put it in after.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So yeah, because the leaves themselves are just incredible.
They are, yes. And when you think of an archive, you think temperature controlled, air conditioned, security guards. It's far from it. It's India, guys. Whoever has not been to India, it's chaos, really it is. And these archives are primarily little holes in the wall, a back room of a family's home. That's an archive. We got big state-run archives too. They're like kind of museums. I've been to most of them, if not all of them. But the real deal, the vast majority of these leaves and bundles, books, are in private archives. There is no registry. There is no computer system behind it. It is by word of mouth to find a bundle that hopefully contains your leaf. So that is a little bit of a geographical outline for you. Being in the southernmost state, it's elongated like California is, just with 85 million people in that one state alone. Today they speak Tamil, but at that time, 2,000-3,000 years ago, they spoke Granta, known as ancient Tamil. Doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of like modern Greek and ancient Greek. A modern Greek person doesn't read, write, understand ancient Greek. They go to university to study it. Same thing happens to a reader, a real reader that is. I gotta share a word or two about the readers too. If you go to India, if you go to Tamil Nadu, and almost anyone is happy to sell you a reading because they know you don't know anything. So 80%, regrettably, as big of a fan as I am of India, regrettably, one has to be very careful when you go to India to get a reading in person. The minority are real authentic readers. It takes up to 7 years for a person to become a real reader. They need to study ancient Tamil. That in itself is a big task. They need to know all of Vedic astrology, all of it. They are a fully fledged Vedic astrologist. That in itself is a whole industry. They need to be able to decode the symbols that they use, because on these leaves are written as a poem, not in prose. They're written in this dead language called Granta or ancient Tamil. Then they are written in a symbolic way. That's the only way to be able to compress so much information on such a small leaf that's only 10-15 inches long and about an inch or so wide. Once they become a reader, excuse me?
Sorry, we'll put a picture in because you got to see it. It's so incredible, right?
You got to see it, yeah. Then how the system works. The system works the exact same way as it has worked for the past millennia. Again, you got to think the ancient times, people couldn't read or write. So the Maharishis had to come up with a system where people could find their leaf. So what they said is, you know what, we're going to connect your leaf with your thumbprint as a unique identifying factor. And we still do it today. We need your thumbprint. Ladies, your left, gents, your right. That's just the way it is. It has to do with karma and with Hinduism. That's how to distinguish the genders. So if you were in India, you would submit your thumbprint in a reader's office. He would look at your thumbprint, identify your thumbprint category name. That's very important. The secret in all of this lies in your thumbprint category name.
Yeah.
And your thumbprint category name is like your red thread in life. It's the only thing you cannot change in a reading. It's here to give you a general guideline throughout your life. It's like a soul's journey. We're going to get into that a little later so that you have a better understanding. So today, the system is the exact same way as it was 3,000 years ago. It's a 3-step system. First is the search for your book, which hopefully contains your individual leaf. 2 is the matching of the leaf within the book so that you know it's yours. And then the reading, given the reader gives you the message that's written for you on your leaf. So 3 steps. The first step, the search, starts once you submit your thumbprint. With us, you do it online. It's safe and secure. I pay extra money to have a secure server. Once we have your thumbprint identification, we destroy everything. We don't keep anything, by the way. Then once the reader literally looks at your thumbprint using a magnifying glass, he identifies your thumbprint category name. There are 108 different category names. And then he goes on a physical search. Physical, that means he walks from one archive to the next. He uses his bicycle or his moped, or if he has to go longer distances, even on a public bus. It's a search. It's a real search. No computers involved, no registers involved. It's just hearsay, word of mouth, and of course, knowledge. Having done this for so many years, he knows roughly where to go to find a bundle in which hopefully your leaf is in. And that search takes a while. With our institute, I'm already telling you now, you got to be a little patient, and patience is a virtue. We know that 6 to 16 weeks. That's how long you got to wait. Can it happen within a week? Of course it can. Can it be that it's 4 months? Yes. But 6 to 16 weeks roughly is the window where we find a book or 2 in which hopefully your leaf is in. So once he finds a bundle,
can I interrupt it? Can I add some stuff?
Sure.
So first, I want to talk about the thumbprint. We'll go back to that. But I want to say about the search. While the search was going on, because like I'm so psychic, I was told your bundle will be found within a couple months after the Conscious Life Expo. And that's exactly what happened. But in the meantime, while I knew the search was happening, I, as a conscious participant in my own life experience, this is helpful for other people to hear, so that they ensure, in a sense, lining up with their search. What I was told by my own guidance was that your bundle will be found for you from a place of consciousness, that you, while the search is being done, that you infuse your intention and desire into it. In other words, to receive it in right divine timing, that it's going to be for your most benevolent best, that which is true, real, right, and accurate for you will be revealed to you.
Yes.
That which the divine is desiring for you will come through. Like, these were the things I was holding in my consciousness. And when I would think about it, I would infuse like, yes, I'm so excited. In right divine timing, it will be found. For my most benevolent best, it will be revealed. That which is meant to be revealed to me will come through. I'm holding this in my consciousness from a state of excitement. Like, oh, I'm so excited. I wonder how great it's going to be. And if we can utilize that when we're doing the search for the bundle and in other areas of life, that's part of our conscious participation in the experience. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yep.
Because it helps. It helps with the patience part. Do you know what I mean? It's just being patient.
It does.
You're in a state of knowing, of excitement, of wondering, of allowing the divine to reveal itself through the experience.
Now, since you mentioned that, allow me to go a little deeper here. We call it Indian palm leaf reading because when I brought it to the West, I realized nobody knows what it is. No one. It's still a big, big, big secret in the West. It's common-ish knowledge in the South, especially in the smaller towns and villages. We just gave it a literal name, Indian. So hopefully people understand it has to do with India, palm leaf, so they don't mix it up with the palm of the hand or tea leaves or something. And still I get many messages, can you read my palm? I was like, dude, read my website and then you understand what we do. And then reading, so they understand there is some sort of a reading involved. But in India, nobody calls it Indian palm reading. We in India, we call it Nadi reading or Nadi astrology or Jyotish, or there are many names for it. But Nadi has many meanings. Nadi means leaf. So where the message is written on, Nadi means seeker. The person seeks the message on the leaf. Nadi means pulse, human life, life. But Nadi also means the exact moment in time the message is divulged to the seeker, not a day before, not a day after, on the exact moment where it's supposed to get the message. And that is the mind-blowing part, because the reading starts exactly on the day you get the reading done, with the information for you from that moment onwards. So that's me just giving a little more explanation about divine timing. It's just the way it is, Nadi, perfect timing. Not a day earlier, not a day later. So that's the search part. If you were in India, you will go to a reader's office and then you will do the matching and the reading in person, or with us, you do it online. So that's the comfort of your home. We do it on Zoom, just like here today. You would need 3 to 3.5 hours for the matching and the reading. Matching is step 2, reading is step 3. Matching takes about 45 minutes, 60 minutes, give or take. What does matching mean? I already told you that the leaf is written in a dead language, that it's written as a poem, not in prose, that it is written in symbols, so it needs to be decoded. And to just make things a little more tricky, Tamil and ancient Tamil, both of them are so-called syllabic languages. That means sound-based languages, as opposed to all Western languages, English, French, German, and so forth. Persian too, because I'm Persian, letter-based, A, B, C, D. Now, if you converted all the sounds of Tamil into letters, it would be 247 letters. It's mind-blowing. So it's quite a complex process to find your actual leaf within all these leaves in a book, or several books that we usually find. Usually the reader brings back 2 or 3, and 90% of the time, the first matching attempt is successful. Like in your case, Lori, first time we did matching, boom, we found your leaf in it. But 10% of the time, it's they don't find the right bundles, and then they go back. If it's not a match on that day, he will go back and search more, bring back more bundles, and then second time around, it's 99% that matching happens. It's a divine act. I mean, they don't even know themselves how they pull the right bundle. It's somehow divine connection, because there are tens of thousands of bundles with just your thumbprint category type, and there are 108 different category types. You can only imagine how many millions of leaves are out there. A lot. Does every single person have one? No, but those who seek, they will have one.
Right. And now, in the reality of quantum physics, if you think of it from that perspective, which is another way to explain consciousness, if you're seeking, if you're desiring, if you're wanting it, it's available for you. And the only, from quantum physics perspective or higher consciousness, the only thing that could stop it from being available to you truly would be your own fear, or your own unconscious self-sabotage, or perhaps some unconscious part of you that really doesn't want to find it for some reason or not. Right.
Correct.
So cool. But so can you tell people, because I don't think we actually said this, you only take 3 pieces of information. 1 is the thumbprint, 2 is the gender.
That's it. And the country of birth.
What was the 3rd one again?
Country of birth.
Country of birth.
Yes, and that's how these bundles are more or less. I mean, again, there is no computer system. There is no unified approach to it either. But roughly, that's how things are stored in these archives, and that's all the reader ever needs to know. So now that we explained to you how the leaf is written, the matching process hopefully is even more mind-blowing to the audience, to the listener. Lori experienced it herself. So what happens is, during the matching process, in our case being on Zoom, there is the reader who only speaks Tamil and can read the leaves. Next to him sits the interpreter, interprets into English, or rather English. And in order to make things easier for the seeker, we have a Western moderator. Like in our case, it was me, but I train every single moderator so they know what to do. They repeat things in case you have a hard time understanding the English, the Indian English, and also hold your hand from the beginning till the very end. so that you get the most out of your experience. So once matching starts, the reader opens up the bundle, the book, and looks at the very first leaf. And he reads out statements to you, not questions, statements. For example, you are married, because this leaf belongs to a person who is married. And if you are married at the moment you get the matching, the reading, you will say yes. If you're not, you say no. It's super easy. To each and every statement, the only answers you need to give is a yes and no, a right, a wrong, a correct and incorrect. That's it. No need to give any more information than that. Let's say you're going through divorce, but at the time of the reading, you are still married. So when he says you're married, you would have to say yes. No need to say yes, I'm married, but I'm going through divorce. Irrelevant.
Well, can I add to this too? Because like it's just so, I think it's so helpful. Like I'm just a raving fan on this.
Thank you. Sure.
So I think that's like so helpful for people to hear, right? When they got on mine, they knew the name. I mean, it was so cool. They were like, your name is Lori, your mother's name is almost the same as yours. They knew my father's name. They knew my only husband's ex-husband's name. They knew his name. They said his name. When they got to my spiritual teacher, they were like, you study with a guru who studied in India. I'm like, yes. They're like, his name. They said his name. I was like, that's so weird, right? Because he's literally perhaps the most important human person in my life, other than maybe my parents. But really, the fact that he had such an imprint that they were able to see that on the leaf, this person in my life and his name. That's just so amazing. And you wouldn't expect that, that the matching process alone is so revealing and so incredible, because you're just listening to them basically find your leaf and all you're doing is affirming, and you're like, oh my God, these Maharishis got that into the leaf. So wild. So awesome. Yeah. Sorry.
That would be when the reader, again, who knows nothing about you, he just knows your thumbprints and your gender. Everything else is irrelevant until he finds you on the leaf. And it's through a process of elimination. He needs to get to that point and digs deeper and deeper. If you say yes, he stays on the same leaf and goes deeper. You have two siblings. Yes, no. If you say yes, he continues. If you say no, that's not your leaf. It's not your soul. Boom, next one. But if he finds your leaf, he will tell you, because he can read it on the leaf, written 3,000 years ago, in a dead language, in a syllabic language, sound-based language, in code. He reads out to you your first name, your mother's first name, your father's first name, your date of birth, your time of birth, your weekday of birth, partner, ex-partner, deceased partner, several ex-husbands or wives' names, children if you have any, gender, siblings if you have any, gender. Basically, it's mind-blowing, and it's you. Again, you got to think back 2,000-3,000 years ago. The Maharishis, in their eternal wisdom, not only connected it to your thumbprint so that they can find it, but also they said, how can we make sure that the seeker, once we find his leaf, accepts that it is his or her leaf? By just telling you your credentials. These are your parents. You were born here, this date, this time, this weekday. So it's you, because you can verify it. And to the doubters out there, oh my God, you Googled me, you hacked into my Social Security and all the rest of it. Folks out there, I just don't have the time. I need to have the time, nor is there enough money involved in any of this. My readers, and those of you who have not been to India, might be of interest to know too. Folks, they have an outhouse. Many of them don't even have a toilet in their house.
I want to say something too about the doubters. Doubters and skeptics.
We don't have the time. A reader who has to travel an hour to have internet at the office will not waste a single minute to do any web search about you. If you doubt it, then don't do it. It's that simple. Just trust the process, and you will be amazed about the guidance that you receive. So I just needed to give a word, spend a sentence or two on the doubters. You hacked me. How else would you know these names? Well, we did not. It's written on the leaf. So that's matching. Boom.
I don't have a lot of doubters in my community. I really don't attract doubters. Like, we're too Most people who
That's
follow
perfect.
my stuff are too progressed to be in the state of doubt, and they wouldn't stay following or listening to the stuff I offer. But I remember once being interviewed on a show once, and the woman was like, well, what do you say to the doubters? And I was like, I have no interest in them. I have zero interest in the doubters or the disbelievers or the skeptics or the cynics. And she was like verklempt by that. She couldn't believe, like, well, how could you be that way? It's so important to be a skeptic. And she couldn't get over her own skepticism. The whole interview was like, it's a waste of time. It's not even interesting, because it's like, if you're still in the universe will just reflect that to you anyway. If you're just in a state of doubting and disbelieving, your reality will conform to give you that, but you'll never become an enlightened being, because enlightenment starts with curiosity, wonderment, and willingness. It's that simple. So you have to be willing. But I do want to say that the moment they found my bundle, and I have so many friends who have done it too, like close personal friends.
I know.
From what I can tell, and you can verify this and validate it, but it's like the moment they say they found your bundle, there is something deep inside that is like somehow validated. Just that moment, something emotional comes up that's like you're known. You're known, you're validated in some way that no one else ever has been able to do for you. I don't know. It's like an emotional, and it's so powerful and profound. Just that one moment where it's like, we found your leaf. Like, there it is. Like, your life story is on this piece of paper. Somebody from 3,000 years ago. It's so awesome, right? Would you say that other people have had that kind of?
It was the same for me. Of course it was. When I had my reading done, I didn't have a guide like you had in me to like make me understand and so forth. I was blown away. The way the message is delivered to us, the matching and the reading, it's delivered in a sing-song. So the reader has to train that too. Dum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum. So the waves that he uses when he delivers the message, they carry healing faculties in them. So they're meant to be delivered in that particular way. So when he reads out, all the statements, dum ba dum ba dum, your father is dum ba dum Siavash. I was like, my God, because my dad's name is Siavash. And I guarantee you, in his entire life, this guy has never heard that name before. Guaranteed not, it's impossible. Or my mom's name is Gisela, dum ba dum ba dum ba dum Gisela. I said, oh my God, it blew my mind. I really couldn't fathom it. And so, yeah, it is a divine moment. You feel validated. And I was in shock, really. I was stunned. I was speechless. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions and the experience that I was experiencing at the time. So yeah, of course, I became a convert, a believer. That's it, done. If you cannot believe that, then I don't know. Then you're in the wrong place. So that's the matching. Then it's you. They found your leaf, and then since you verified, you can now accept that it's meant for you. Somebody 2,000-3,000 years ago took the time to write a message for you to help you in the here and now today, so that you can create a better life trajectory for yourself. As a premise, very, very important. Before we continue to the reading, there are a few things that you must accept so that you can get the most out of your reading. First of all, a reading is here to help you, the seeker, to create a better life trajectory for yourself. No one else can do that. The only person who can create the reality that you're experiencing is you, through your thoughts, actions, non-actions, belief system. So that's you. So the reading must only be taken as a blueprint, as a compass, as a map, so that you can steer your life's ship into a direction that you want. Hence, by improving your life trajectory after your reading. So it's here to help you. The only person who can do it is you. Help you, 1. 2, no one's life is set in stone. It's impossible. If your life was set in stone on a dried leaf, then we'd all be puppets. And I very much refuse believing that I'm a puppet. I believe in free will choice. You can have the most awesome reading and still, if I may exaggerate a little bit, decide to jump out of the window. Because free will and choice, that's it. We can only show you the water, but you have to drink yourself. So the only person who is responsible for your experiences and your reality is you. The Maharishis wrote it then for you to get it now so that you can make something better, create a better life for yourself. So these are the important factors. You got free will choice, your life is not set in stone, and the reading is here to help you create a better life trajectory for yourself. Now, when the reading kicks in, the reading is based on 3 aspects. One is your overall energies, not your mood. Your energy is very different. Whether you had the morning coffee yet or not, when you have your reading makes no difference, or fight with your spouse makes no difference. It's your overall energies. And according to our system, your energies shift every 6 months. So within a 6-month period, you can have a leaf or no leaf. So that means if we cannot find a bundle that hopefully contains your leaf within a 6-month period search period, then don't despair, don't be upset, don't be sad. Just start a new search after we tell you, sorry, we couldn't find bundles for you. Then you start a new search and boom, a week later, maybe there is a bundle for you. So it's important to know. So it's based on your energies. 2, it's based on the stars and the planets. Of course, they have an impact on us. And the vehicle that we use in Nadi readings to tap into their power is Vedic astrology. And Vedic astrology is a new term for Indian astrology or Hindu astrology. Only in the 70s, it became, Ayurveda became hip in the West. So they renamed it in the West to Vedic astrology. So it's a fairly new term for a very old thing. And the difference between Vedic, Hindu, Indian astrology and Western astrology is that Indian astrology is based on the moon. Western astrology is based on the sun. And now that I've done it for 10 years, I've come to the conclusion that Indian astrology is way more precise than Western astrology, just to give you a simple guideline. And last but not least, it's based also on your thumbprint category name. That would be your baseline. It is your genetic imprint. That's the one part that doesn't change. It's you, and you got to embrace your thumbprint category name with all your heart. It's neither good nor bad. It just is. So based on 2 of them are changing, 1 of them is the constant. So based on these 3, it looks at your leaf, decodes the code on the leaf, and gives you, from the perspective of the day you get the reading, he looks into the future and gives you a possible life trajectory from the moment you get the reading until there is no more writing on the leaf, which could mean the end of your life, but not necessarily, because your life is not set in stone. It's done so that you can create a better life trajectory for yourself. And if better to you means a longer life, well, then you'll be able to do that as well. So it's a life trajectory from the moment you get the reading into the future. If you like it, beautiful, continue. If you don't like it, well, there is homework to do to help you overcome blocks identified in your reading so that you can create a better life trajectory for yourself. And the trajectory is given in increments of years, 2-3 year increments. And what we do, we only do whole life readings, which means we cover all chapters on that leaf. That is 14 of them. That covers all aspects of life that is important to a human being: family life, health, spirituality, money, career, education, all of it. And it gives you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unlike any other reading possibly out there, a Nadi reading is a raw reading. It's not sugar-coated at all. They just tell you as it is. A reading is not here to make you feel better or special. It's here to help you create a better life for yourself. So if it's good, if a period is good for something, utilize it. We can only show you the water. It's a good period to write a book, to move, to find a spouse, to get pregnant, whatever good means in your reading. It's an opportunity. What you do with it, again, is up to you, because you got free will and choice. But if it's bad or ugly almost, then don't stress out. Embrace it with all your heart as a blessing, in disguise. Because
that was
now
one of the
you know you have a block.
I love that you said that. It's so true, because there's so many, especially light workers and people who are seekers, who a lot of us, especially if you identify as a star seed, which a lot of my community does, and I know I do, that what happens is we sometimes wonder, like, why is this life so challenging or so difficult? And it's because we came here to pave the way and to create something new. and to move through old dense energies that most of humanity just wasn't. So that kind of thing can show up in the reading. And if you know, that kind of thing can show up like this is a challenge area, or this is a block. And if you embrace it as part of like your growth, your learning, your potential for expansion, it totally shifts the perspective from like, oh, this is a bad reading, to, oh, here's what I'm here to move beyond, to expand beyond, to clear, or to resolve. And so it's a blessing in disguise. And when you said that, I was like, oh, that's so good. That's so rich, that piece of guidance, because it really does. It's not just showing you all love and light and rainbows and butterflies. It's also going to help you see your own blocks, and in such simple words. Like mine was like, you're blocked in this area, this area, and this area. It's like, yeah, that sums it up. He's like, how helpful is that? That's so helpful, because like, okay,
super helpful. It is super helpful.
Totally. Yes. Let's talk about thumbprint. Can we?
Hold on. The block this is maybe one of the key factors in a reading. Some people have a smooth ride in life. It's just the reality of it. Some of us do, and some of us don't. Like me, I was in hospital a lot. So when you enter a reading, please do not think that overnight everything will be rose-colored and, you know, milk and honey. It won't, because if you had my French, troubled life, let's put it that way, a troubled or challenging life until now, a reading is not going to change things overnight for you. No, what a reading does is it tells you these are your blocks. Up until somebody who is not you, who does not know anything about you, telling you these blocks, now you know it, because up until that time, you still had the blocks, but you were, if I may use the analogy, like a blind person walking through a forest, hitting a tree, not knowing why, boom, boom, all the time. But now we tell you, man, there is a block. And good news is, and that is where the magic, the power in the reading lies. The secret is in your thumbprint. We'll talk about it. But the power, the magic, the beauty of it all is in the healing work at the end of the reading, which we will call pujas, remedies, homework that you need to do. In Western terminology, puja is nothing more, nothing less than an energy shifting exercise. That's what it is. Literally translated, it is known as prayer ceremony or ceremonial act. But for Westerners, to make it more tangible, I guess, let's call it energy shifting exercise. So if you have a block in life, all that means is, if we can go back to quantum physics and in this case, math, if something goes well in your life, I always compare it with a perfect sine curve, because sine curve is deemed to be the perfect curve. If you have areas in your life that flow, you make enough money, you have a great partnership, whatever that is, that means, oh, God bless you. That means that you have a sine curve, or as close to a sine curve as possible. But if you have blocks in your life, health issues, money issues, relationships, whatever that is, then the sine curve is far from being a sine curve, is all over the place. And the more it is screwed up, the bigger the block is. So what a puja does, because for every block identified in your reading, and that is where the power is, for every single block in your reading, identified in your reading, you will be given homework, something you need to do in the shape and form of a puja, an energy shifting exercise. And if you do it with all your heart, not just because I'm telling you or the reader tells you, but you really want change, that is your way of showing the universe that you're serious about change. Because if you're not serious, why should the universe help you? I mean, you cannot just continue afterwards thinking, oh, I just had a reading and everything will be fine. No, it won't, because the universe says, okay, now tell me what is that you are doing and willing to do so that I can help you get there. If I may, because I know you want to talk about the thumbprints, to understand the power of puja more, some of you might have read the book by Paramahansa Yogananda. It's a very famous book. It's written by this famous guy who brought yoga to the West. It's like the Bible of yoga, even though it has not much to do with yoga, but the philosophy of it. And I remember reading the book a couple of times. At the time, it was way before I started doing this. This guy talks about pujas without really naming them pujas. So Paramahansa is an Indian dude. He grows up in India and he has gurus, several over his lifetime. And then when he was a teenager, he had a guru who could heal people from the worst possible illnesses. Leprosy, which is highly contagious, is terrible, cancer. And they would travel from one village to the next. And then this guru of his would see all these people come to him. He would heal them and send them off. But he would give them crazy homework. You have to carry this egg, raw egg, in your left pocket for the next 3 weeks. And I use my own language to make it a little more entertaining, I guess, because the way Paramahansa wrote it is way more elaborate than I repeat. And then so little Paramahansa looks up at his guru and says, Guru, I don't understand why you give him these crazy things to do. I know you can heal him. I mean, of course, I've seen you heal him, and I'm sure you know how to heal him. So the guru answers to little Paramahansa, says, yes, I know it, you know it, but they don't. So when they come and I shift their energies and I heal them here now, they go home, and if they don't think about it anymore, they don't do anything about it, well, then the healing will go away and they're not healed. So I give them crazy homework, like this raw egg in your left pocket for the next 2 weeks, which at that time, 150 years ago or so, was not so easy, because if you're poor Indian, you might have holes in your pants and this and that. So they really had to focus on making sure that darn egg doesn't crack. And after 3 weeks, focusing on it, the egg was okay. Well, the healing had manifested in them, and they were cured from whatever illness they had. But if they did not care about it, it cracked or whatever, then the universe might have said, well, then you're not worthy of being healed, because you really don't put the effort into changing and healing. So that is the power of the pujas that everyone is prescribed at the end of their reading to help you overcome all the blocks identified in your reading. Cool. So the reading, please do not take verbatim. It's a blueprint, it's a guideline. The pujas must be taken verbatim. In a little analogy for my friends out there, the reading has the Italian approach, laissez-faire, a rough guideline. But the pujas, the German approach. You got to follow exactly as prescribed, no wiggle room at all, because that's how you prove the universe that you're serious. So now coming back to the question about your thumbprint name.
But let me just say before we do the thumbprint part, I started the pujas on my own right away. And I mean, I started to notice improvement. Like it's really interesting, right? I'm barely even into them because I only knew like enough of the first one, but it is pretty amazing. If you're really conscious, like for me, I can already see a difference. Interesting, right? It's not long-term enough, but I just want to say, like, I have a knowing that within me, because I'm a spiritual teacher and healer, that when you're working with the consciousness, let's say of Ganesh or another, being, that consciousness that has existed in the realms of consciousness for like eons of time, really for eternity in a sense, that consciousness of that being, in this case, I'm just using the example Ganesh, who's a remover of obstacles, that consciousness is real. And so when you're humbly requesting its assistance, right, in a certain area, like removing obstacles or blocks, it's willing, that's part of it's, as a conscious being, it's willing to serve and support in the way that it's best at. And it actually really does. It really does serve. So
it does.
Anyway, I love the pujas. I definitely went for them because that's optional too. That's totally optional afterwards.
No. You're mixing up two things. One is
there's two different kinds. No, I'm not mixing it up, but it's optional. You have free will. It's like you said.
I mean, it's optional. Anything in the reading is optional, of course. If you have that approach,
right? There's two different kinds of pujas. You can explain that if you want. The two different kinds, but they're both really for you to choose.
Yeah, whether you embrace the reading or the pujas or not is your free will. Of course you can. We just show you the water. Everything else is up to you. That's correct. You have free will. But when it comes to the pujas, the leaf itself contains healing modalities for you. One of them you need to do yourself. It's a must. If you take it seriously, it's a must. You got to do it. And it will take time. It will take you many months. On average, 5 to 9 months, give or take, depending on how many you're being prescribed. And it's not a lot either. It's once a week, really. I mean, once a week to do something for 10 minutes, that should be worth your time. If indeed you want to create a better life trajectory for yourself. I mean, come on, it's not a big deal. But you got to do them exactly as prescribed, exactly in the sequence, exactly the length, exactly everything. And if you screw it up, meaning if you mix up a day, if you forget a day, if you do whatever you do, you got to start from scratch again, because you want to show the universe that you're serious about it. That would be the so-called temple pujas. Temple pujas means pujas that you, the seeker, would have to perform yourself. But then many, not everyone, but many get an extra support puja written also in the leaf, depending on all the blocks that are identified in your reading. That is called a mantra puja, as opposed to temple puja by the seeker. A mantra puja is also an energy shifting exercise, but this time it needs to be done by priests in a temple. Now, if you know a priest that you trust, then of course you can organize it yourself. And if not, we have 5 priests in our town that I trust, and they do it for you. And these so-called mantra pujas come in many different shapes and forms, many, to just keep it super simple. It's either a fire ceremony of some sort, many different ones, many, or a length of time where the priest goes to the temple for either 108 or 144 days in a row, twice a day, at sunrise, at sunset, and performs a mantra for you on your behalf to help further to shift the energies so that you can overcome the blocks identified in your reading. So this mantra puja that a priest does is optional. It costs a little extra money, but it's optional extra support. You can decide to have it done or not, but if you're serious, I can only recommend it to have it done. But the more important one is that you do the ones prescribed to you. That's way more important. And so that's a little, some words about pujas at the end of the reading.
I'll say I did the mantra puja too. And the reason I did it is because I know the power of prayer. It's a puja from the priest. It's another type of someone petitioning God, in a sense, on your behalf. Even though it's unique to the Hindu way of doing things, it's still somebody on your behalf is petitioning God or making a request to the divine. And to me, that is one of the most powerful gifts you can give to yourself. It's so powerful. It's so effective. I do it for others when they're on my website who are in my my energy healing circle. When I do that, and it's my way of being of selfless service, part of how I be of selfless service to my community when people ask for that. I know how effective it is, and I know that it works. So I would highly encourage anyone who does get a reading to go ahead and do that. But of course, it's optional, as you said.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about the thumbprint, because that was so awesome. I mean, I just want to say, as someone giving you, like, just singing your praises, I have had my eyes read. I have had my tongue read. I have had my face read. I have had my palms read. I have had even the foots of my soles read.
Yes, I know that too. Yes.
And they all read differently. But most of those readings, although the palm reading, I've had so many palm readings, incredible palm readers, but most of them are connecting them, like, not so much, they're connecting them with what's going on in your body. But this thumbprint was so fascinating. The thumb reading, I should say, was right for women, right? Yeah. So it was so fascinating when they said the 3 dots and the main things, which I can't even reiterate it, but I have it on recording, which I love. You give us the recording. It's like, it's another one of those moments where you're like, totally, I get it. And at the same time, what's so amazing about it is that it adds to the depth and the richness of what you already know about yourself. So it expands. Again, it's another one of these amazing tools that expands consciousness for you. I'm saying you, but this was my experience. I just think this is true, that someone could read, and it is not just about your physical health or what's going on in your world. It's like your spiritual path. It was so enriching and enlightening for me to have that experience where someone could see. And when they said like Sarasvati and Paravati are 2 of my divine angels, I think the word they used, angels, but those goddesses, I work with them all the time. And I find them to be 2 of my most connected beings, deities that I work with. And the fact that they said it, I was like, that's so wild. Like, and then they added so much more richness and depth, Anyway, I don't know. What do you want to say? I just am sharing my experience for people to know and understand or hear, but tell me, what else would you say about it?
About, well, your thumbprint name is the only part in a reading that cannot be changed. It's you. Embrace it with all your heart. It makes you understand your life's journey a lot better, I'm telling you. First of all, every single leaf during the matching process that we go through to find yours, every single one of them has the same thumbprint name as you, which means you travel in a book together with soulmates, to some soul family. You're not related to them this lifetime. It might be people who are not even born yet, or it could be, you know, because you're a lady, it could be a guy from France or from Australia. So it's men, women in the same book or bundle. That's one thing. So you share that with everyone else in that. There are 108 different category types. Some are more common and some are very rare. And having done this for almost 10 years now, I would say I've covered 50 or 60 different ones so far. Even my readers who are divine souls, I'm telling you, I've done tens of thousands of readings. They haven't covered all 108 yet. So some of them are very rare. Doesn't make them better, or so, it just is. Now, the thumbprint name is either 2 parts, 3 parts, or 4 parts. And each part represents a section of your life. If it is a 2-part name, that means your life is split in 2. You know, the first 40 years, the second 40 years. If it's 3 parts, then it's a trimester of your life. If it's 4 parts, then it's a quarter. To keep it simple, so every 20, 25 years. Your thumbprint name stays with you your entire life, Lori. It never changes, but the energy shifts. Yours was a 3-part thumbprint name. That means the first 25 years-ish, it was focusing on the first, and then it shifted into the second, and now you're gradually going into the third and last part. And each one of them has a lot of gifts in it for you to understand. I'm just going to use a couple, 2, 3 ones that could be in your thumbprint name out there, the listeners. Uru Suri. It's usually, that's how some thumbprint names start. Uru means 1, Suri means energetic circle. So whoever is Uru Suri in their thumbprint name, 1 energetic circle, literally translated, means it's a person who is a high achiever, an inherent teacher, an inherent leader, somebody who gets, it's a potentiality, don't get me wrong. It's not that you automatically have it done, but it's in you to get high academic achievements, to lead a group, to have your own tribe, you know, healers, for example, or lead a company, be a politician, be a good speaker. That is what Urusuri means. You exude the right energies to help others, to lead others. You could have Maguda, which means crown, in your thumbprint name. Maguda has several meanings, of course. Maguda, crown, literally speaking, means leader. You lead other people. At the same time, it's your 7th chakra. The name of your crown chakra is Maguda chakra. That means you are spiritual. You're connected to the universe. You know, you can help other people to open their 7th chakra and help them to connect with the universe. It's a healing thing. It could be, since you are connected to Saraswati, it could be white lotus in your thumbprint name. The word itself, white lotus, doesn't mean much, but white lotus is the lotus in which Saraswati sits, and Saraswati is connected with healing. She's the goddess of healing, teaching, and the arts. So whoever is connected to Goddess Saraswati is a natural artist, healer, teacher. What you do with it is up to you, but it's in you. So most of the time, if you are connected to her, then you are already either an artist or a teacher or a healer, one way, shape, form, or another. And I can talk about many of these words. I just don't want to.
How many of them are there altogether?
108.
Oh, of the thumbprint, different names.
Yes, correct.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize. Combinations. 108 combinations. Because what I loved about that was, I mean, it literally did some. I don't remember the different names of mine, but I want to re-listen and write that down. But they basically did say, like, they said you're in the, I got the one that I'm in the lotus, right? I got the one that I was a leader and that I was a healer and a teacher. And that was my spiritual purpose, that I was a very progressed spiritual teacher, healer. And I was like, and they basically said, that's what you're here for. You came here to really help people that way. It was just so validating. It's like, Yeah, that's what I'm here for. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what. And they said that a lot of times, which I think that was another really helpful part of the reading is that they said a lot of times to me, like, you're on the right path. You're doing what you're meant to do. It wasn't that they didn't tell me the blocks that I needed to work on or, some of their obstacles or hurdles I need to overcome, but they were also like, you're on the right path. And that's so affirming when you hear that. And I know even if somebody wasn't, they would probably be hearing like, okay, well, you're not on the right path here, but you have this obstacle and you need to make some changes. And the pujas are there to help with that, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So to recap all of that, it's very intricate, extremely deep. It goes deep into Vedic astrology, goes deep into, you get a lot of information also at the end of the reading. Not only do we explain your thumbprint name, we talk about the energetic dots, which is something completely different to your thumbprint name. It just helps you understand areas of your life when it comes to how open is the energy in your education, in your family, in your health, in your spirituality. That can be changed. Everything can be improved apart or changed apart from your thumbprint name. We tell you who the Maharishis who wrote your leaf, to which god he connected to be able to tap into the Akashic records. We tell you your birth star in Vedic astrology, which has a big impact on you. We tell you your lucky numbers, which means the good days of the month that you should utilize if you want to travel, hold a workshop, sign a contract, go on a date. So these are good days every month, good days of the week. The lucky gems, as we call them. So which gems you should expose yourself to, their energies, not the value, whatever gem that might be, you want to carry it in your pocket, have it on your desk. You just want to expose yourself as much as you can to their energies. So we give you a lot of information, basic information, as well as your reading, your life trajectory, so that you can make the most out of it. To recap, please only take your reading as a blueprint, not verbatim. It's here to help you and no one else, to create a better life trajectory for yourself. You still have free will. You have choice. What you do with it is up to you. And you're the only creator of the reality that you're experiencing now and in your incarnation now. Then how to find us, so that you know too, because it's important for me to share. This is an institute. I personally have donated my time to do it. I don't make any money. I have not made $1 with this work. I'm helping my Indians so they continue doing what they're doing and support their families and the interpreters that we have, all of them. And we support the seekers, of course, to get an ethical, authentic reading. And every reading now that we've grown and grown and grown, I'm happy to say that we're also supporting an orphanage in the town that our brick and mortar office is in the state of Tamil Nadu. So I'm here to help, really. So that is a calling that's, it's called Dharma, to be on the righteous path. In your reading, you're also being told if this is your last life. In general, only old souls get a reading, period. Young souls don't have a leaf written for them. It's only old ones. So it's either is your second last life, that means you need to come back one more time, or it's already your last life, which means you're on the trajectory of reaching liberation and moksha after this. So it's your last life. Pop out the champagne, enjoy. It's your last, last time here. But you can still screw it up. You can, because you got free will and choice. But if you continue on the right path, then you will reach moksha. You don't have to come back. Or, and it's very rare, we had a handful of them so far in the thousands readings that we've conducted, so-called light workers, time travelers. They voluntarily came back, stupid enough to come back, I don't know why they did it, to help humanity in again, human form. So
I just want to say something, because your reading really helped me with that too. Because of course it came up on my reading, the reading with you, that it was my last life. And because I've always sort of laughed about that kind of thing. Well, you're an eternal being. Why do people think it's their last life? Of course you're going to come back again. Of course you're going to somewhere. And I've always said to myself, I know this could be my last life, but that makes it harder. So I'm willing to come back, because I don't need this to be harder on me to overcome and finish and complete everything. So I used to joke, I'll come back just as long as I come back at some future point in time when humanity's more enlightened. I always felt like that. But after the reading, I was like, yeah, like, why would I want to come back? Like, I'll just go and do something entirely different. Like, why would I want to, you know what I mean, if I don't need to? So the reading really helped me with that too. And I think that a lot of people in my community would resonate as, in this community would resonate as pretty old souls. We've been around the block. Yeah. Like, why would we want to come back if we don't have to? So I think that would be, or maybe we would, but just in a totally different, it's a helpful piece of information to get,
Yes,
to know that. So
sure.
awesome. Did you say the website? Say it again, will you?
So the website is indianpalmleafreading.com, indianpalmleafreading.com. We have a Facebook, big Facebook, Indian Palm Leaf Reading, Instagram, Indian Palm Leaf Reading, a huge YouTube channel. Please watch it. It's Indian Palm Leaf Reading Institute. As some very generous seekers allowed us to put their entire reading on YouTube. So you can watch the whole process, how it runs from the beginning of the matching until all of it. The tears, the laughter, the being scared about it. So it's captured live on video and put on Zoom, on YouTube, because these kind seekers said, we want to help others to understand the process. And so that's why we have about 10 or so now, of seekers who allowed us to put it online. From a young kid who is 20 years old to Erica Middlemiss, you might know her. She comes to the expo all the time, Conscious Life Expo. To Reverend Bill, who is in his late 70s. So we got male, female, young, more mature, all of it. So you can relate to one or two of them. Visit our YouTube channel. And if you're ready to sign up, the cost is also pretty simple. It's $100 for the search. We have 100% money back guarantee for the search for bundles. And if you find a bundle, then you pay $400 for the reading itself. So $100 and $400 paid in 2 separate installments. And that's it. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
That's awesome. I'll say one other thing too. I have so many friends who have done it, and I have told so many friends about it too.
Yes, I know a lot.
Some who have bundles out on it, and I really don't advocate and promote unless I really believe in it. I've done it myself, obviously. And I want to say part of the fun of it that we didn't even mention is talking with other people who have gotten the reading. What did they say? What did you get? Because it's such a unique, it's not like, it is wonderful. You have a great psychic reading or you have a great healing. All that stuff is so amazing, but there's something so unique about this that it's so fun to share with others who have had the same kind of reading. So that's a whole other aspect of getting a reading that is just, I think, really amazing to be able to kind of it's not that you're comparing notes, it's that the sharing of the readings is even more enriching, deeply enriching and expansive. And I think that's why people like me and so many others want to share their reading, because it's enriching to share it. It really is. It's incredible.
Yes,
so
it is.
We'll put all of the links below the video too, so that people can
find you
easily there. And I would love to chat more, because I would love to chat more about stuff like, what do you think those blocks are? How do some people why is it that some people have more karma and not? It's something I'm always exploring in my own life, and it's why I do what I do. But we'll definitely have another chat at some point in the future. We can sort of link it to this video, and we can go deeper into some of that, because I think a lot of people walk around on earth and they're not necessarily considering, why do they run into the same kinds of issues over and over again? Or why is there a pattern? Have they even recognized the pattern of maybe they're having health challenges, or maybe they're having relationship blocks, or maybe I've had a lot of people come to me for readings and healings, and their animal got the same sickness over and over again, and the animals weren't even related. It's the theme of the energy, right? And that stuff can be revealed. And so, sometimes people need to understand that these patterns are in their lives, even they don't even necessarily make the connection. So I would love for us to chat more about that at a future time. It would be really fun to go into that too.
Of course.
Link it to how the readings can really help with that. So, but for now, we're going to wrap because of linear time. And I just want to say, Dr. Q, I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you. And I'm so in honor of what you're doing, that just everything you explained of how you're doing it in service, and it is your Dharma, and how many people I know you've helped with this. So thank you so much for being here. And thanks for sharing, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Namaste. Big kiss.
Namaste.